Good evening, and welcome to the Fortean Slip, episode 50, take 3. This is the I Drank a Beer with Bigfoot episode. Tonight we'll talk about my vacation to the West Coast. Going to the Browns property to check out the spot where they filmed the thermal. Is that the Grays Harbor? Is that what's called the Grays Harbor thermal footage?
Yeah, that would be the Grays Harbor. Now we're talking about John and Sarah Brown, correct? Not the other Brown.
Yes, not the dickhead. And the future of the Fortean Slip. We will no longer have special guest Matt Knapp, and I want to clarify something about that too. Matt was never really a special guest. It was kind of a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Matt was the third fucking chair on the show.
I don't think we ever did an episode without him. Well, we did that one.
Yeah, we've done it. You and I did a couple.
Maybe two. Yeah.
More often than not, I think it was you would have to skip out because of stuff with Clay.
Yeah, and my fucked up piece of shit internet service.
Yeah, we did have that a couple of times.
Yeah.
But Matt's gone his own way. I know he has his own show. But I wish him no ill will. I wish him the best, but he will no longer be on the program. I don't know that I'll try to even search out a replacement.
We should have open auditions.
No, because you know the first fucking jackass. You know who the first jackass would fucking want to come on would be Dax Rushlow.
Well, I still kind of like Dax. He's okay with me.
I can't have him trying to swing a lightsaber around on an audio-only show.
That would be funny. You'd hear it, so you'd know what was going on. But you wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
So
you'd know there was a very short man swinging a fucking fake lightsaber around.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, but I think if it would make a hell of a blooper reel if we had some fake open auditions. We wouldn't really be replacing anybody.
Right. It'd be interesting to have some other people on, maybe.
We'll have to see what we. Yeah, it's a decision.
We'll
talk about.
But
I don't know anybody who, and honestly, and I know that Matt's gone his own way, but he was good for this show, I thought, and I don't know anybody who's as quick-witted as Matt that would kind of replace that. So
yeah, I can't think of anybody, and yeah, he was definitely a perfect fit for the show. So I don't know, how we'll go forward. It'll be probably a little organic for a while. We'll keep to the same structure for now. See what happens.
Orgasmic?
Or yes, some orgasmic. We'll see how that works.
All right.
But yeah, so I was on Jeff and David's show the other night.
Watched it. It was a good show.
The Squatchers Lounge podcast. We talked about the trip out there, and but yeah, I went out to the West Coast. I flew out to Oakland. I met up with Jeff. Jeff lives near there, and I drove up the coast from there to Washington. I get to drive through the Redwoods, Oregon coast, saw Mount St. Helens, and Mount Rainier. And for some reason, my fucking jackass brain could not wrap its fucking head around Mount St. Helens. I said Mount Everest about fucking 20 times when I was out there.
That's on a different continent.
It's on that fucking... It's in Asia. So... I was kicking myself in the ass for a whole day because I walked up to I don't know how many different people asking about Mount Everest. like a fucking dickhead.
Hey, is that Mount Everest over there?
I
I
don't.
can just
I
imagine the
don't know
locals,
what it
man.
was in my fucking brain that could not fucking work that out. But God Almighty,
The locals
it
had to
might have
think
had
we were
something
about.
to do with the legal weed.
Yeah, it's legal out there, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. Um, but yeah, I had met up with Jeff down in California. Now Jeff didn't take the ride with me
Oh,
north.
that would have been one hell of a ride.
Oh yeah. Oh, Jeff wound up getting sick on the trip. He would have been all right that portion of the trip probably, but he
He's
went.
just now recovering from what I hear.
Yeah, he got pretty fucking ill. He fell over, like while I was standing next to him, at one point,
Oh, that
like a
sucks.
fucking toy, like boom on the ground. I'm like standing there. I turned away for a second. All of a sudden, Jeff's on the ground. I was like, "Holy shit, are you all right?" Like he was really seriously a fucking mess
So,
when he got
from what
sick.
I understand, Jeff's not a small man. So, if he hit the ground, I bet he hit it hard too, huh?
Actually, the way he hit it, it didn't, and I didn't see it, but it looked like he kind of fell, but
Slump.
yeah, it was really weird how it looked. Because like I said, I caught the very end of it, but yeah, Jeff was he was a little rough, but he didn't come up with me, so I drove up and I hooked up with David at his place, and then we went and grabbed Jeff from the airport because he flew
I
up.
think I would absolutely love to go to David's place, man. He's got all the guitars and shit like that.
I never got to
You
see
know?
his man cave.
Oh, that would be the best.
I did meet his little boy there, and
By
I
David,
believe it's his
we
girlfriend.
mean
I don't.
David Batdorf.
Yes, David Batdorf. I believe it's his girlfriend. I don't believe they're married. But it is a nice place. He's in a nice area. Washington was great. And we drove down the next day to the Browns, and those guys camped out. I stayed at a hotel locally. Um, what do you fucking
Not a
laugh?
camping fanatic, are you?
No, hey, I was on
You stayed in a
vacation.
fucking hotel.
I was on vacation, dude. Like, I'm not like packing shit to go camping when I'm flying, and I wasn't gonna go out there and buy a bunch of shit
I
to
get it,
camp.
but-
So I was just like, fuck this. I'm staying at a hotel. So
So did you stay overnight at the Browns at all, or just?
I was there until like 3 in the morning every night, both nights.
Well, that kind of counts, I
Right.
guess.
I mean, I stayed the duration. And the first night, Shane Corson had showed up. He was headed up to do something with Derek Randalls, I think.
I see.
And of course, Jeff and David were there. Doug Hudson showed up. He had brought his the Bigfoot costume.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, man. It looks pretty impressive, that costume.
It is. Phil Poling had showed up. Of course, you had Jonathan and Sarah Brown, and Kirk Brandenburg was there too. He brought his thermal,
Sweet.
so everybody got to kind of play with the thermal. I'd used thermal before, but it's always good to have on site if you're doing anything like that. And
Right.
for the record, like nothing of any substance, as far as I'm concerned, happened while I was there. And by that I mean I didn't see a fucking Bigfoot, because that's what it would take for me
Right.
to have something of substance. We did hear some interesting sounds amidst the coyote calls, but nothing that I could definitively say that's a fucking Bigfoot.
I did hear Phil say that he got some interesting audio on his microphone.
Yeah,
his,
I don't know
audio
what
setup.
what he's talked about with that or whatnot. So I'm not gonna say anything about what
Well,
audio
he said it on air on his show,
Oh, okay.
so it's secret or anything, but something about something sniffing the camera.
Yeah,
It sounded like there
something.
was some
I
bipedal
guess something
footsteps.
had either sniffed at the thing or had moved it or something. The recording device.
Or his audio.
But we did have
Recorder,
coyotes
recorder.
come extremely close. But his recorder was up high, I believe. It was
He
up
said
on a
7 feet.
Yeah, it was up high, so that would have been kind of weird if it was a coyote. But we did have coyotes come extremely close. Like they were right down over the ridge. So I mean, all in all, it was a great time. You know, we got pretty loud the first night. I know that. We got a little tipsy, but and then the second night,
What happened the second night, Chris?
second night. Oh well, and you gotta understand, this is like a day pretty much before I'm leaving to go home, and I find out, or I hear word that Bill Brock had been in cahoots with Stacy Brown Jr. to set me up at his TV release party, because Bill's on that fucking show, Monsters Underground. And it is true, right. Bill had invited me to that party. And
you have hung out. You have hung out with Bill in the past.
And I've fucking hung out with the guy on a few occasions. I've been to his house. So I thought this was kind of fucking weird. And
I must say, though, and I'm not defending anybody because I don't, but Bill said that he didn't know what was going to go on.
Okay, now,
I'm
yeah,
just saying,
Bill says
I want to give that side of the story too.
All right. Now let's walk through this. Okay, so I messaged Bill, not thinking that fucking Bill was going to even answer, because I was like, it's fucking 4 a.m. in the morning, or close to. It was at that point, it was like midnight. So I'm not thinking like anything's going to come. I think I'm going to send Bill a message. I'll fucking catch up with it the next day. Asking him what the fuck was up with this. Well, he denies it, and then all of a sudden he hands the fucking phone to Stacy Brown. Now,
Stacy Brown?
Now, I want to note that Bill didn't have my phone number. I had messaged him through Facebook. So he had his phone on him, and he handed the fucking phone to Stacy. So Stacy starts messaging me, and the threats begin. Well, then he starts calling everybody under the sun to try and get my fucking phone number to call me. And I'm on vacation. It's 1:07 in the morning.
In the location you were, so it would have been
Pacific time.
In Florida, where Stacy was, it would have been like
4 a.m.
4 a.m. or something, yes.
4 a.m. And and this is what happens. My phone number gets given out by this man.
Hey, Chris. Stacy wanted to do a conference call with me, you, and him, but I told him that you guys got to work it out. You guys are men, and so I gave him your number, and you guys should work it out, and don't put me in the middle. Thanks.
Yeah, so I just spent a weekend with a guy who I know fucking hates your guts, because that's the fucking fact of the matter. Like, Stacy Brown has not been quiet about the fact that he doesn't like me. According to the Browns, he had told them that I had said that Sarah Brown was a whore.
I've never heard you make that statement.
I've never made that statement, but supposedly, sure, according to them, I did. And then he goes and gives the fucking guy my phone number. Now the man on that phone message was Sean Evidence of the Bigfoot Evidence blog, and I used to do work for him. I quit working for him that night. Everything. He gave out my personal fucking phone number to that jackass down in Florida, and said that I was putting him in the middle. I never contacted Sean Evidence once. Not once. About Stacy Brown.
Yeah.
And
it was probably not a good idea to give out your phone number.
Yeah.
I can agree with that for.
And I have Sean's phone number and address. Should I just go willy-nilly giving that shit out to people?
No, it was probably not a good idea. I can tell you that I have Rick Dyer's personal phone number and address, but I'm not giving it out to nobody, because it's wrong. It's not a good idea to do, because that breeds problems, especially when there's a problem with somebody.
Yeah.
No. Whether Sean did it maliciously or not, I can't make that determination. You've talked to him. You know more than I do.
In my opinion, he did. Because after that, when I contacted him about it, he told me that I campaigned against their Bigfoot fucking weekend. I didn't campaign against your Bigfoot weekend. I didn't say anything against you, Ro, Justin. I never spoke out about anybody except for Stacy. And the one person that they had that was credible, that was supposed to be there, bailed on him, and that was Bart Catino. And I don't know why he bailed, and I don't know why he wasn't there. And I'm not suggesting that it's because of anything. I'm just saying that the only person that they were going to have there that was credible, in my opinion, was Bart Catino. And I disagree with paid Bigfoot expeditions.
Bart, in my opinion, is very credible.
What's that?
I don't have a problem with the paid version of a Bigfoot expedition. But what my problem with that particular one is the amount. I mean, how are us people who, I make boxes for a living, man. It's going to cost me $300 to go on a Bigfoot expedition plus a $700 plane ticket to get there. That's fucking a month's worth of wages for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that would be an issue that I would have. If you want to pay to go on a Bigfoot expedition, I don't have a problem with that. If you want to throw your money away, because you can go out in the woods yourself if you really want to. But, that would be my issue with it. It would be the amount of it.
Yeah, well, what I said was not a fucking campaign against their fucking Bigfoot weekend. I spoke out against...
Well, even if it was. Even if it was, you and I have had this discussion recently regarding Mr. Stacy Brown and that subject of the paid expedition. Even if you were campaigning against them, you and I are not that important.
No, and I've said that many times. I don't know what the fuck the deal is. Why Stacy thinks that he needs to fucking, threaten me or come after me, and I don't understand what why Sean would even think for a second that my dick little fucking show could hurt his fucking Bigfoot weekend. Like, that whole thing failed because of piss poor fucking planning. That fucking thing failed because of piss poor planning and shit people.
I do know that the people who went, for the most part, enjoyed it. They had a good time, and and that's the way it should have been to begin with. I don't know that paying $300 to go was the right idea, And I think that's why it failed. It's not because people campaigned against it. I've talked publicly about BFRO expeditions paid, I wouldn't pay $300 to go out with fucking Matt Moneymaker, so I'm not going to pay $300 to go out with anybody else either. It's just the way it is. But,
I think it's fucking hilarious that literally a few weeks before that whole weekend went down, that Stacy Brown told me that he sells out everywhere he goes, and they fucking did not sell all the tickets to that fucking expedition. So I find that fucking hilarious.
I think they sold 2.
Yeah.
Well, and I think your beef with Stacy goes back a little bit farther than just that.
He initially contacted me in October of last year. I had never spoken about him, never spoken to him. I wasn't friends with him. And he got in touch with me out of the blue because I had called out Michael Merchant on something. And he tried to tell me that Michael Merchant was autistic and that I was attacking an autistic man. And I know people who have
Asperger's, I think.
But some form of autism, right?
Asperger's
is autism.
No clue.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Right, some form. Right.
But I'd talked to people who had been friends with him in the past for a long time, and
I was
and
friends with
no
him.
one knew anything about this. No one.
Right.
But Stacy Brown's the definitive doctor on Asperger's and autism, so
Well, and I think we discussed it back at that time. Me and you knew who won the show well before the show aired,
Oh yeah.
because we had friends on the show and people that we knew on the show, and I think Stacy's bigger issue at that point, and I could be wrong, and Stacy, if you're listening and you want to correct me, that's fine. But I think he was pissed and he thought he might reveal the end of the show or
And I
something,
should have.
Well, yeah, it
In
would have
retrospect,
pissed
I
a lot
should
of
have.
people off.
NDAs were fucking broken on that goddamn show galore.
They are on every show, though. I mean, that's the way it is.
The information was all out there long before. If I could have fucking found somebody I could have put in fucking odds down on who won that goddamn show, I would have. Because I knew.
Oh, yeah.
Long before that fucking show aired, I knew.
I think half the Bigfoot community knew, because certain people just couldn't keep their mouths shut, and Stacy might have been one of those people, because everybody knew he won, maybe before, but it wasn't like publicly, it wasn't made public or some bullshit like that, So, but in the background, people knew who won the show. I mean, it was no secret.
Right. So he threatened me back then, said he was going to come to Maine, and kick my ass, yada yada yada. Then I had gotten into it with him before the Bigfoot weekend. That whole altercation was deleted off of the page that it was on, because there was a whole back and forth between him and I.
The one on the coalition?
No, on in the Squatchers Lounge.
Oh, I see.
But
well,
yeah,
that's just what set him off recently, and that's why he made that phone call and all that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So then he I get this phone call after Sean gives out my fucking phone number. At fucking 1 a.m. and he proceeds to tell me that he'll fly me down to Florida to kick my ass. That don't worry, he won't beat me too bad, and he doesn't care if he goes to jail because he'll just get bailed out the next day. It's not a big deal. And
rumor has it.
If anybody wants to question that happened, like I have the voicemail from Sean saying he gave out my number. And B, there were 9 people witness to that fucking phone call, because I played it on speakerphone.
I don't think anybody's going to question.
I played it on speakerphone.
I don't think anybody's questioning that it happened.
Everybody to hear.
Yeah, I don't think anybody questioned that it happened. I don't think anybody would, because and maybe rightly, maybe wrongly so, but Stacy promotes himself as that type of person. He wants to be known as the badass or whatever, So when somebody says, yeah, Stacy Brown called me and threatened to kick my ass, it's no big surprise. You know what I mean?
Well, according to everybody else, it is, though. Yeah. According to everybody else that I've spoken to, he's a nice guy. I've talked
to a lot of people. Well, and here's the thing. He's a nice guy if you're at one of his speaking engagements. Yeah, absolutely, because that's how he gets paid or whatever, Or he's a nice guy if he's trying to win a fucking TV show. But personally, people who have dealt with him personally, not such a nice guy, like you have. And I mean, you started that thread in a coalition group, so you know what the responses were to that. There was a lot of people in there that.
Oh yeah, there were quite a few people who've had the same type of altercations with him because they've called him out on his evidence. And or wait a minute, no, wait, his lack of fucking evidence.
Well, obviously a matter of opinion there, but I tend to agree.
Yeah, it's a fucking lack of evidence. There's nothing there.
Well, that can be said of most of us too,
I don't have any fucking evidence.
No, I don't either. I don't want to. I don't care. I'm being totally honest, man. I could give a shit if I ever prove the existence of a large bipedal primate. I don't care. Somebody else can do it. I enjoy the subject. Speaking of which, we've been on a little hiatus, and a lot of this got to me, but I wasn't going to let them win, so that's why I'm back here. So. Well,
my big thing is I don't understand why people made it a point. Because it was more than just Stacy, and I'm not going to go into like the names or who, but more than one person contacted the Browns to try to make it out to be like I was this fucking demon of a person. And then they met me, and they both said that, you know, that they had a great time meeting me. Everything was great. I was a great guy. You know, I question that. I'm not that great of a guy, but
I question that every time I talk to you or message you on Facebook or whatever. I question it too. But hey,
but you know, I just don't get why that had to happen. Well, I know why, but
I know why too.
It's just it's petty and it's fucking horse shit. And
it's all petty.
It's because I called out the buddy. That's all it was about.
At that point, that's what it started out as, right? But here's my thing, and I posted it on my Facebook today. Things would be a lot different if people came to each other and talked them out civilly. You know, just hey, you're both men, you and Stacy. Now, you guys would never get along in real life. I get that. You never get along on the internet. I get that. But if he would have just said, "Hey, man, Michael has this disease. You know, don't." You know, try to take it a little easy. You might have got a little upset with him, but you wouldn't have nothing. It wouldn't have got this big. You know what I mean?
Well, he needs to understand that he can't just tell people what to do.
Right, and I have no problem with people having differences and fighting amongst themselves. Hell, you know, I have friends that you don't like, and vice versa probably. But you and I still get along, you know, and that's the way it should be. But when it gets to that level, and that's what scared me the last couple of weeks, man. I mean, we all know that Strufer's bookstore got shot at and shit like that. I mean, that's the level that things can get to. Now, we don't know. Obviously, it's never been proven that it was anything related to Bigfoot. I believe it was, but you know, and that's the level things can get to, and that's my biggest issue with all of this infighting and bullshit that's been going on in the background that people don't see. You know, somebody's going to get hurt or killed one of these days. And it's all going to be over some petty little bullshit argument. It's going to start small, like you making a statement about Michael Merchant. I'm not, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying Stacy Brown is going to come shoot you or anything like that, because I don't believe that. But
I'm not too fucking worried about it. Let's put it that way.
No. Well, here's the thing. Somebody is going to be mentally unstable enough to take it to the next level. And that's what scared me, and that's why I took a little hiatus from the show. And
well, there are fucking supporters of these people who are fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah, there are, and that's what, you know. And if anybody wants to know, there's a cat that just won't leave me alone tonight, so that's why I keep pausing. The fucking cat keeps jumping on my lap. I mean, I might have a warm pussy in my lap, but that's not the way I wanted it. Yeah. Was that a joke, and I shouldn't have told it?
I've told you time and time again. Leave it to the
anyway.
I
think if from the way I see all this, because I try to be friendly to people. You know, I mean, if Stacy Brown contacts me tomorrow, I'm going to be friendly to the guy. I'm not going to, you know, threaten his life or any bullshit like that. I'm going to try to say, hey, what the fuck's going on, whatever. But I can't, because I am that type of person, you know, I get into the middle of these arguments sometimes, and it just fucking wore me fucking down, man. And you know it. I mean, you and I talked about it. Yeah. And thank God, maybe, you know, and I finally decided maybe let's get this out on the table. That's why I agreed to come back and do the show, and, you know, so let's get it out on the table. Let's get it out in the open, and we can move on. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, but I'm sure, like, Dickhead will come back with something else. So.
Hey, if that happens, that happens. But it's out on the table. I mean, it's been out on the table because you posted it in the coalition.
Yeah, no,
group,
it's public. But yeah, I did want to at least get it out, like.
Well, you know,
the story as it played out. That's how it played out. Like I did message Bill. I did not expect that anything was going to go down. I thought I'd hear back from him like the next day. But
I
there are
also
people
talked to
there are
I
people
also
out
talked to
there
Bill.
there are people out there who are saying that I just fucking stirred the pot and I was looking for it. I wasn't looking for it.
Not at that point you weren't. I don't think you ever actually were, but at that point you certainly weren't. You were on vacation.
I was fucking sitting
You
around
know
the campfire getting fucking drunk.
that at that point. I do want to say about your trip. Maybe one last thing. After the trip, and I found out what happened and all that with the phone call and all that. That's when I started really thinking about shit. But anyway, I want to thank Sarah Brown because she contacted me on Facebook and she kind of talked me down a little bit. So if she's listening tonight, I wanted to tell her thanks. So
Yeah, Sarah's good people. Jonathan's good
yeah.
people. They like I said, they're very welcoming. The one thing that I thought was pretty amazing was they were so nonchalant about having so many fucking people on their property. Like it was just like another day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and her and I had a good long conversation about. She sent me some vocalizations and some sounds, from alleged Bigfoot on her property and stuff. And I told her about what I witnessed a few years back, and we had a really good long conversation about it. So I really enjoyed talking to her. So maybe someday, hopefully, I could get out there
yeah,
too.
it was a good time. Like I said, nothing of any significance as far as on the Bigfoot front happened, but hey, it was what it was, and it was a good
Well,
time.
it is
All in all.
Bigfoot.
I don't want
Nothing
anybody.
significant
I don't.
ever happens.
I don't want anybody to think that what happened ruined my fucking vacation by any stretch of the imagination. I just thought that it was fucking ridiculous. That shit all went down. More the fact that people contacted them. I'm not even so fucking all that ups. I mean, I'm pissed off that my phone number got given out, and I am
Right,
kind
I
of
get it.
I am kind of ticked off that I got multiple phone calls from Florida and more than one Florida number. But I'm more pissed off at the fact that people took the time to try and contact the Browns and tell them that I was this horrid person. So,
Right.
but hey,
I guess it's a matter of
ultimately,
opinion.
I was, redeemed by going there, I guess, and they saw what kind of person that I was. So,
Yeah, hey, in their mind, they didn't know what you were going to be when you got there because if they had heard things, but you proved to them who you really are, and that's what mattered, right?
yeah. So, like I said, I had a good time. It was a good week all in all, and we got to do the recreation of the thermal with the Bigfoot costume. The Bigfoot costume is
Yeah,
amazing. Doug,
that's what I want to
yeah,
talk about a little bit.
that Bigfoot costume is pretty fucking amazing. Doug, the work that he did on that, I can't state enough. Doug's a real
I mean, that's a
quiet guy.
Holly.
I've talked to him a few times. He but that guy, that suit is amazing. Like the work and the craftsmanship that guy put into that, when you see that on a person in the daylight, you could tell it's a suit. I've got pictures on my phone that you can't even tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a thumbnail I'm gonna throw up with the show. It's Phil standing next to Jonathan in the suit holding a beer,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell because he doesn't have the hands on, and
Right.
so it's just his hand sticking out. But there are some shots that I took where you can't see that he doesn't have the feet and the hands on, and it's in the dark just enough. And oh my god, is that fucking creepy? And I let
Well,
the, I let
it's
I
not
let I let the
often.
son of a bitch chase me through the fucking woods.
Oh, that was hilarious.
with the
I think
Bigfoot
that's on
costume.
Doug's YouTube, right?
Yeah, that's on Doug Hudson's YouTube channel.
That was hilarious, man. That was the funniest Bigfoot video I ever saw.
Yeah, but so we
And it
got to
was
do
you.
that.
It wasn't the Bigfoot. It was you, the fucking scream you were making, because it sounded like a fucking little scared little girl.
Well,
running through the
they're
woods.
like, Chris, we want to chase you we want to have Jonathan chase you through the woods with the Bigfoot costume on. And I'm like, all right. I was fucking pretty buzzed at the time, so.
Oh,
But yeah,
really?
I just fucking went with it, and
It was great, man.
yeah,
And that one, And it's not often, man. Listen, it's not often you get to see an actual Hollywood type costume like that.
No,
And
that
to be able
costume gets rented
part of
out
that.
to movie sets for big fucking
Right.
money.
I mean,
And
that isn't
Doug
a
brought
cheap
that out for
costume.
us to just fuck around with in the woods.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a once in a lifetime thing, I think that you got to be part of, and that is
Yeah.
pretty damn
And
cool.
the one interesting thing about the doing the recreation of Jonathan and the thermal was you can't really see any heat signature from it inside the
Right.
costume. The only thing that you can see is the eyes and the mouth. So
Right.
it kind of rules out, you know.
So I have to ask you, after seeing that particular costume, uh, obviously we had the Patterson Gimlin film from 1967. How does this costume, obviously we're a lot, further advanced in costume making, but
Yeah,
how
but
does that
okay,
costume compare?
that costume that Doug made, it's kind of loose. So you
Right.
can't really like I in comparing it to the Patterson, like I don't fucking know.
I
That's a
just,
hard.
what I'm trying to get at is, you've seen the advancement in costume making from obviously the 60s when
I
the
still
Patterson
say
came.
the Patterson Gimlin footage is the real deal.
I do too.
I, I,
Well,
I just think
I
there's too
lean
much
that way. Let's
detail
put it that
there.
way.
Seeing a guy in a suit, and granted, I'm sure they can make suits that are even better than what Doug's is. But
Oh, I'm sure they
seeing a
can.
guy in a suit walking around, I don't buy that Patty's a guy in a suit. And listen,
That's what I was
Jonathan
getting
was
at.
in that suit for God, it was a short period of time, and he was miserable.
Right.
It was fucking miserable. And like he was like, "Can I get out?" And Doug's like, "No, we gotta have you heat it up."
And it proved a point to a point. I mean, obviously, if there was a man in a suit, it wasn't going to be a Doug Hudson suit. It wasn't going to be
Right, it
made
was
out of
going to be
yak fur
something
and all
from
that. But
way back, at that time. And Jeff even said when we were there, I challenge anybody to put on that suit and go walk where Patty
right,
walked.
right.
And
And
and he's right.
also, it kind of it did a service to the Browns as far as showing that that wasn't at least a guy in that kind of suit.
Right.
Now, could it still have been a suit? Yes. I doubt it was a suit. I kind of agree with what David said on the lounge the other night, that it was either a cow or it was a Bigfoot. But, I mean, it wasn't
Yeah,
obviously
and David and I have had those
a person.
discussions about that many times, whether it's a cow or a Bigfoot, and
Right.
whether or not it could be. And I think our perceptions about how things are there are a little different now that we've been there.
Right.
But it's still, David and I are still of that mind, that analytical mind of, and I'm speaking for him, but I'm pretty sure that I'm spot on with this. David and I are the type of people that we aren't going to believe it unless it's sitting right there in front of us.
Right.
And
Slapping you in the face.
yeah,
Right.
like I said, I told David at one point when we were out there, I said, wouldn't it be funny if like Bigfoot came up and like smacked you in the head while you were in your fucking hammock and said, "Hey, I've been looking for you."
Yeah, that would be funny, man. But,
But
anyway, I'm glad you had a halfway decent trip.
no,
I
hey,
mean, there was
all in
some
all, it was
bad
decent.
things, but yeah.
I'm pissed off about what happened, and I
Right.
don't like shit to sit in the shadows. I don't like this, things happen and nobody knows about it.
Right. Well, I'm the opposite type as far as conflict goes. I hate conflict. Just being on this show tonight will probably get me a few, messages, but that's okay because I'm willing to deal with it. Chris, you've always been my friend. You're always going to be my friend. We're going to have disagreements on occasion, obviously, but I'm willing to put shit to rest, And I think by you openly talking about it, that kind of helps you, and that's why I agreed to do this tonight. So
Yeah, I just, it happened. I wasn't gonna gloss over the fact. I mean, I fucking talked about my fucking grandfather's funeral in this program. So, and I was pretty goddamn candid about that. I was pretty honest.
I do have one quick message for Mr. Stacy Brown if he's listening, and this is sincere, and I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything. Stacy, man, you've got a TV career possibility coming up. Why the fuck do you really want to mess with somebody who doesn't really matter? That's all I got to say about that matter. You know, and I'm not being mean to Chris when I'm saying that.
No, I know.
Because
I know.
Chris
I don't
and I
matter.
have discussed this. We don't matter to maybe 5 listeners.
If that.
So why are you willing to ruin your possible TV career over a petty argument? And that's really sincere. I'm not trying to be an ass when I say it. That's what I just can't understand why it got to the point that it did, and why you would be willing to risk that kind of thing. So that's my final word on that one.
And I'm still going to call you out on your bullshit. Don't you have some news, Steve?
And that's your prerogative. No.
God, we went long today.
Well, it was an important topic, so. Is this where I start reading the news?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, let me try. Oh, we got a new Bigfoot show, Chris.
Oh, boy.
This is from dreadcentral.com. I mean, it's been making the rounds on the Facebook groups, but we haven't officially announced this new show on our show yet, so we're going to do that right now. Destination America will be airing Killing Bigfoot this month in October.
Where they won't kill Bigfoot.
No, of course they won't. Another Bigfoot TV-themed show is heading our way soon, and today they have the details on Destination America's Killing Bigfoot, in which the hunt gets personal.
Truth in advertising. We killed nothing.
Some guy named Bobby Hamilton, one of the special stars, had an alleged, I put the alleged in there, by the way, an alleged real-life encounter with a Squatch during his childhood, and is out to prove they do indeed exist. Hamilton claims, I put the claims in there, that he has hunted Bigfoot since one terrorized him as a child. He and Vietnam veteran Jim Lansdale lead a team of commandos. Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Oh, fuck.
Named the Gulf Coast Bigfoot Research Organization, or GCBRO for short, to find and kill a Bigfoot in order to prove its existence to science and to protect the public from a future attack by a rogue Bigfoot. I lost my place there for a second.
They fucking SEAL Team 6 or what?
Yeah. Killing Bigfoot will capture the unusual lives of these men on their quest to find and shoot the giant ape-like animal stalking the Gulf Coast area of the southern United States. The GCBRO claims they shot a Bigfoot doing it 10 years ago. Blood samples were sent in, and testing was positive as belonging to the grade 8 family. Funny, I haven't heard of those test results.
God almighty.
And it goes on, but I guess you can watch the show on October 24th at 10 p.m. And if you're in Canada, you'll find it on OLN Canada.
And you'll see a bunch of guys in tactical gear do nothing.
Oh, no, they'll do stuff.
Oh. Just not kill a Bigfoot.
They won't get any results because it's made up.
We'd heard about it
anyway.
By now.
I know. Anyway, a hiker... Oh, this is from Huffington Post from Road Trippers, which is, I believe, Newkirk, right? Greg Newkirk?
I think so.
Sometimes it's easy to take for granted how much land there is in America. Sure, it's harder and harder to find places that haven't been explored, but it's also become easier to forget places that we've already been. Kind of like an entire friggin' town in the middle of Tennessee's Great Smoky Mountains National Park. That's exactly what Jordan Lillies, I think that's how his name's pronounced, L-I-L-E-S, Lyles, I bet you.
Got me.
Yeah, who cares? Discovered when he explored the park last year, and lucky for us, he brought his camera along to document the adventure. He says it was about a mile up an unmanned gravel road inside the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. There's an abandoned neighborhood with a hotel, and some of it was originally constructed more than 100 years ago. He has some sort of film called Tennessee Wonderland, and yeah, So sounds fun to me. I lost my place again, Chris.
Jesus, you are just not with
Well,
it.
because you give me stories that are written, and
I didn't give you this story to like shit on it. I thought this was an interesting story in that.
No, it's an awesome story, but
in that
it
okay, people
refers to...
say all the time that, you know, how could there be a bipedal primate or something living out in the woods that we can't find? This fucking town was fucking stationary. It didn't move, and we couldn't find it for 100 years.
Again. It is actually a pretty cool thing. There's a video on YouTube about it. Tennessee Wonderland, exploring an abandoned something or other. But you can find that on YouTube if you want to go look at it. There was another town that was found, I guess, somewhere. Geez, I keep losing my fucking place. Do I do that a lot on the news?
As far as in relation to tonight, I don't know. I know you fuck up a lot, but...
Yeah, I'm fucking up pretty bad tonight. But anyway, interestingly enough, earlier this year on 2014 American Adventure Rally, the Road Trippers team stumbled onto a whole other set of abandoned buildings just a few miles from Tennessee Wonderland. So I guess this is something that tends to happen a lot. And there's also a Renaissance fair that's deep in the Virginia forest that's been abandoned and people had forgotten about. So I agree with you, Chris.
Where they strike each other with wooden swords and go, 2 damage, 2 damage.
I guess they built this Renaissance fair thing and then, didn't ever deconstruct it when they were done using it. So It's pretty cool. The pictures are on Road Trippers on Huffington Post. So go check it out. It's pretty cool stuff. Librarian. Yeah, come on. Liberian Observer. I said librarian. This is my favorite story of the night, Chris. I'm glad you showed it to me, and I believe this story to be 100% true.
Oh my fucking god!
I believe this story to be 100% true because how could you make this shit up? So, the headline is: 2-month-old baby turns into full-grown man. Residents of Foquila in Panta District in Bong County.
Yeah,
come on.
That's exactly how it's pronounced.
Bong County. Really, Chris? We're said to have an unbelievable shock when a 2-month-old baby, identified by family members as Smith Freeman. Okay. This is in, Bangladesh or something, and his name is Smith Freeman. Tuesday, September 23rd, he grew into a full-grown man and escaped into the bush with his mother's lappa. I think a lappa is something you tie around yourself.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't either. But according to the mother of the child, Lorpu Kali, 16, on Tuesday, she said the child and her were on their way to the farm when the child on her back, tied in the lappa, spoke to her, 2 months old, mind you, and told her to put him down. She told the Daily Observer that as they approached the crossroad, the child repeated his call on to the mother to untie her lappa and put him down. As soon as she put the baby down, she continued. The 2-month-old boy instantaneously began to grow into a full-grown man. Lorpu narrated that the child informed her that he, the child, was on his way back home since his grandmother was in constant practice of raining insults on him, and he was threatening to bring incense and garlic into the home. I'm assuming, Chris, that garlic and incense is a bad thing?
This story, I was just blown away by it, Steve.
It is an interesting story. Oh, and Lorpu says that this is the first time she's ever seen her 2-month-old baby talk so clearly, like a 5-year-old. She told the Daily Observer that the baby who grew into the man immediately took away her lappa and made his way into the bush. That's what most grown men do, right? Make their way into the bush.
They fucking make their way to that bush as soon as possible.
The 16-year-old mother said that she had earlier had dreams of her son where they both went into a town and entered a house without doors.
And then they acted out scenes from Taboo, too.
They leaned on the house and found their way in as instructed by her son, Smith Freeman. Smith, come on, this is a fucking made-up story. It's gotta be. She explained that in the dream, her son was the one serving guests with the food, and her son empathetically warned her not to dare telling the dream to anyone, but according to her, she revealed the dream to her mother. Oh, so that's why he grew up and wanted to go kill his grandma. I see. The boy told me that he was going back home because his mother had threatened to bring incense into the house. He said that the grandmother told him she had the power to drive away any witchcraft. Speaking earlier to the newspaper, the father of the baby, Watson Freeman, said his girlfriend Lorpu conceived. She complained of body and other related pains until she finally gave birth. Watson Freeman described the mysterious disappearance of his son as incredible and mind-blowing, saying he did not experience any apprehension about him being beyond being a normal human being. For his part, the grandfather of the baby, Jerome Cowan, said the unexplained vanishing of the 2-month-old Smith Freeman is the handiwork of the dark world. He maintained that the situation could stigmatize his daughter and drive away any man who may wish to take her as a wife in the future. Meanwhile, traditional leaders in the area have commenced a traditional investigation.
You spit out full-grown adults.
They've got a traditional investigation going into the situation. Advised people who had farms in the direction to which the baby escaped to stay away for a couple of days and observe. Whew. Wow. I just want to read one of the comments. This is from a Jim Terry Cannon. His comment: "This is nonsense. Someone killed the child and fabricated the story to cover it up. As long as librarians keep believing these sorts of things, they will never prosper. That is what is keeping people in darkness, fear, and superstition. I have nothing against, this is me talking now. I have nothing against librarians, but really? Really, people?" Holy fuck, that story sucked.
Yeah, it did. Funny though.
Actually, it was pretty entertaining.
This has been episode 50 of the Fortean Slip. I drank a beer with Bigfoot. I got chased through the fucking woods.
And I promise never to give your phone number out to anybody.
Yeah, well, I'd appreciate it.
You know, only 3 people in the Bigfoot community have my phone number. That would be you, number 1, and 2 others that shall remain nameless on this show.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend giving it out to anybody else.
Honestly, that's all who has it. So I would know who gave it out.
We'll try to be back next Sunday with some new stuff.